Welcome back for another episode of Thursdays with Charlie. This is number 76, and it's the 11th of November, 2021, Veterans Day. So a very happy Veterans Day to everybody, and thank you for joining us for this broadcast today. Just a couple of reminders. Our Christmas party is scheduled for the 10th of December, 2021. It will be in the Starview Room at the Riverside. Tickets are $25 each, or a table of 10 for $250, and they're available at the church office or at the Sunday and Saturday night masses, wherever we would be gathered, whether it be at church or at the Riverside. We're using the theme of the 50 United States, and so far 18 states have already been designated with tables, so we're pushing close to 200 people already with tickets sold, and we're looking forward to many, many more joining us for it. So pick your favorite state, get a group together of 10, or just come as individuals or couples, and we'll put you at a table designated as one of the states. Should be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to it very, very much. Also looking forward to Thanksgiving Day in just a couple of weeks. I remind you, we have 8 o'clock Mass on Thanksgiving Day, so you can join us if you'd like for Mass, and then go on home for either cooking or football watching or online shopping or whatever you'd like to do to make Thanksgiving a wonderful day. So Thanksgiving this year is the 25th of November, and that's coming up in just a few short weeks. Again, the people have told us in the commerce departments that it's going to be the most expensive Thanksgiving Day in history because of the mess-ups with the supply chain currently. And so hopefully you will be able to get a turkey and get your potatoes and those wonderful sweet potatoes and marshmallows and all the vegetables and all the other goodies that go into Thanksgiving dinner, and look forward to that. Veterans Day, I'd like to just say a few words about our veterans community and a little bit about Veterans Day history, and it's just going to be that for today. Veterans Day began as Armistice Day, the celebration of the ending of hostilities between the Allies and the Germans in World War I. And the armistice was signed at the 11th hour, 11 a.m., on the 11th day of the 11th month, November, in 1918. Remember, World War I was supposed to be the war to end all wars. And so the ending of that, the signing of the armistice, was a really significant day. It was going to be the stopping of all the conflicts. And so the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month became associated in people's minds with peace. That's a wonderful thing, the ending of the hostilities there. And so from 1918 till the mid-1950s, it was celebrated as Armistice Day, a day to commemorate the ending of hostilities. You probably know from history that what happened between 1918 and the 1950s was World War II. So it wasn't the end of hostilities, and people thought maybe we should be working towards looking at honoring those who served. And so in 1954, Veterans Day was officially established to replace Armistice Day. Instead of celebrating just the signing of that particular peace in 1918, it honors the veterans, all those who have served in all of the wars throughout our history and all of our military forces. And that's quite a substantial number of people. According to the United States Census, and the last census would have been 2020, approximately 7% of the American population is composed of veterans. So we make up a substantial portion of the community of the United States. I tried to get some accurate figures, was not quite able to get as accurate as I liked, but there's approximately 18 million veterans in the United States who are currently alive from the various conflicts in our history. There are still a few veterans alive who served in World War I. Very, very few, but there are still some who go back to that conflict prior to 1918. There's approximately 500,000 veterans still alive from World War II. And there's over 6 million veterans still alive from the Vietnam conflict. The various other wars, the Korean War, the Gulf War, bring out other veterans in there. One of the things they're noticing among the younger groups of veterans is that the amount of females in the veterans population increases, so that there are very few females left from World War II, but many, many more females served in the Vietnam conflict and in the Gulf War conflict. So there are a number of younger female veterans. The average age of a veteran in the United States right now from all the wars is approximately 65 years old. I decided to look how many people we think about people who served, and most of us a few years ago, could have said that within almost every family, every community, you would know somebody who's a veteran. That's not as common today as it once was. But I decided to look back in history how many of the people that we see on TV or we see in the movies or we see on the stage actually served our country in the various wars. And I made up a little list. It's kind of extensive, but it might bring back some memories, and you might not know that these people served in the armed forces at some point in their lives. Perhaps the most surprising to me was to learn that B. Arthur, who played Maud and who was very, very successful as one of the Golden Girls, was actually in the Marine Corps Reserve in her younger days. But going down the list, as I read this list of names, I'm sure many of you will recognize them from their movie or TV or stage roles, but you may not know that they also served our nation in our military forces. Clint Eastwood, obviously, Chuck Norris, Mr. T. I remember Mr. T for that amazing little haircut that he had over there. Tom Selleck, Steve McQueen. I thought Steve McQueen was a wonderful actor. I loved watching him on TV. Paul Newman served in our military forces, as did Bob Hope. And we all know that Bob Hope did a wonderful job after his service in the military forces of providing entertainment through various USO tours throughout his life. Jack Palance, Charles Bronson, Chris Christopherson, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, that wonderful singer and artist there. Robert Stack, Buster Keaton, Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman probably has one of the most distinctive voices. It was said that, what would you, if you were having a narrative, a drama done of your life, wouldn't it be wonderful to have Morgan Freeman narrate it? People would remember that. Pat Sajak, one of the famous quiz show hosts, served in the military forces. Richard Pryor and George Carlin and Humphrey Bogart and Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks, great comedians as well as great showmen themselves. Tony Curtis and James Earl Jones all served in the military forces. Leonard Nimoy and Kirk Douglas and Charlton Heston and Don Knotts and James Garner and Don Rickles all served in the military forces. Buddy Hackett and Art Carney as well served in our military forces. Jesse Ventura and Jeff Bridges and Robert Duvall and Mickey Rooney and Gene Hackman and Oliver Stone and Lee Marvin served in our military forces. Bob Barker, another famous quiz show host. Sammy Davis Jr. And then we have a list of people, and you might recognize these people from one particular TV show. Jamie Farr and Alvin Alda and Mike Farrell all served actually in our military forces, and they're probably best remembered for their roles on the TV show MASH, which demonstrated some of the years of the Korean War. They actually got to reprise some of their life roles in that TV show. I think most people are familiar with MASH, and we used to be glued. I can remember being glued so much to my TV screen, watching those episodes, sometimes getting to watch 2 or 3 a night when it was in reruns. Ernest Borgnine and Harry Belafonte and Bob Newhart all served in our military forces. Carl Reiner and Harvey Korman, great comedian. Sid Caesar also served in our military forces. Robert Mitchum, Clark Gable, Telly Savalas, Ed Asner, and Brian Dennehy. Brian Dennehy, a very famous stage actor as well as TV, and someday I'll tell you I had an opportunity to meet Brian Dennehy one evening over in New York. I'll get to tell you about that story, but not as part of today's show. I'll do that later on. And Bob Crane, who also reprised a military role in his TV show Hogan's Heroes, Rock Hudson and Fred Gwynne and Richard Klein, and perhaps the most famous, Elvis Presley, served in the United States Army. Maybe some can remember the consternation of the female population of the United States when Elvis was drafted and had to go and serve our country. What I'd like to do is do a little bit about each of our military branches. We now have 6 branches officially of the United States military, and just a couple of points about each one. United States Army is our oldest military force. It was founded, its date of birth, if you will, is the 14th of June, 1775. So we actually have had an army for more than a year than we've had a country. We didn't sign our Declaration of Independence until the 4th of July, 1776. But the Army was there since the 14th of June, 1775. Of course, the famous Military Academy of the Army is at West Point, New York, and I've gotten to visit that many, many times. I remember one of the funniest stories is one of the people at the West Point was a friend of mine. I got to know him various ways and decided it would be fun to take some of my parish school students from New Jersey up to West Point to see the game. His name was Mike Cernauskas, and we would go visit him at West Point. So I set it up with Mike, and we were going to be able to visit with him and visit the chapel at West Point, and then we were going to have lunch at West Point and then come home. So we got a bus troop together. We took our 7th and 8th graders from our parish school. We went up there and we had a wonderful day. And at the end of the day, I was bringing them back home on the bus, and they had spent the day with Mike and some of the other cadets at West Point. We're coming home on the bus, and I asked the 7th graders, well, did you enjoy the day? And they all said, what a wonderful thing. I said, what was the most amazing part of the day for you? And they said, the most amazing part of the day? That you would know somebody as cool as that cadet. I said, oh, thanks a lot over there. Here, I take you out for a day. Made sure I told Mike, though, I said, you're considered really cool among my 7th and 8th graders. And they're surprised that I would know somebody as cool as you. We had a wonderful day up at West Point, though. I used to go there sometimes on weekends for dinner. They had a wonderful hotel at West Point called Hotel Fair, which used to have a wonderful Sunday dinner. We used to go up there sometimes just to enjoy dinner at West Point. The Army song officially is "The Army Goes Rolling Along," although I guess most people know that as the caissons go rolling along, the battle wagons of the Army. It's got a very nice beat to it and certainly is memorable for the Army. I was trying to look up what the actual motto of the Army is, and I could think from my mind, I remember their slogan, "Be all you can be," but that wasn't their official motto. They have an official motto, and it's "This we'll defend." Certainly stating their case for defending our great American nation. "This we'll defend" is the official motto of the United States Army. Although I still kind of like "Be all that you can be." It's certainly a good theory for all of us to try to become that person that is all that we can be in God's sight. The Navy is our second military force, was founded on the 13th of October, 1775. So again, the Navy predates the country. We had a Navy for almost 9 months before we had a nation. 13 October, 1775, the birthday for the Navy. And it was authorized by the Second Continental Congress, as was the Army. So we had a naval force. The Navy has a motto. There's Semper Fortis. It's kind of an unofficial motto. Always brave. Semper Fortis, always brave. Their more official motto is also in Latin, Non sibi sed patriae. Non sibi sed patriae. Not for self, but for country, homeland. Not for self, but for country. That's what we're fighting for. And of course, the Navy song is one of the most familiar to Americans, Anchors Aweigh, a very stirring and lively beat, Anchors Aweigh. It is the official song of the United States Navy. Marine Corps, probably the most visually known branch of our military forces, they celebrated their birthday this week. The Marine Corps dates back to the 10th of November, 1775. Again, it predates our nation by about 8 months. The Marine Corps was founded, and they celebrate their birthday more than any of the other military services. I would think that if you were to ask around, many people could tell you the Marine Corps birthday, the 10th of November. And there are festivities throughout the country, various Marine Corps reunion groups, and just gatherings of Marines to get together to remember that. And they probably have the most famous motto of all, Semper Fidelis, or simply Semper Fi, always faithful. Always faithful. Faithful to our nation and faithful to one another. I think Marines are probably known for that loyalty to one another. One Marine takes on the responsibility for another Marine, whether it be protecting his or her life in battle or protecting his or her life in retirement and making sure that society respects them. The Marines' Hymn is the official song of the Marine Corps, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. Pretty much everybody knows the first line of that particular song. The Coast Guard, perhaps the smallest and least known branch for many years of the United States military, was founded on the 4th of August in 1790. And so that's the first military service officially after our Declaration of Independence. And their motto, Semper Paratus, always be prepared. And the official song of the Coast Guard is also of the same name, the Semper Paratus March, always prepared. A very stirring beat, a very good beat to listen to, and I love their motto, always prepared. You never know what life's going to throw at you, you never know when it's going to throw it at you, but be prepared. Be prepared for what might happen. Coast Guard teaches us that, and it's a good lesson throughout your lives. The Air Force, my favorite branch because it's the branch that I got to serve in, was founded on the 18th of September, 1947. Air Force people are not as big to celebrate our birthday. We came out of the Army Air Corps. But in 1947, on the 18th of September, we became a separate branch of the United States military. The Air Force has a number of things. The Air Force Hymn is probably the best known as our song, although I don't believe it's officially the song. It's just the one we've always used. Air Force motto, aim high, fly, fight, win. Very good motto for us over there. It's what we do. We aim high, we fly, we fight, and we win. Of course, when I was in the Air Force, if you were to ask somebody for that motto, it would be aim high, fly, fight, and break things, which we did pretty much along the way sometimes, but that was sometimes the only way that we could win, is by breaking down some of the things that were in the way of our military, and we did. And the 20th of December in 2019, under President Donald J. Trump, we got the Space Force, the newest branch of our military forces, the Space Force. They have as their motto, Semper Supra, always above. One of their duties would be to monitor any activities that could affect our satellites or communication system. They have a sort of temporary official song, and it's the Invincible Eagle. This coming weekend, we're going to honor all of the members, veterans of the various branches, the 6 branches of our military forces. And while it's easy to come up with the songs for the first 5, the Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, the Marines, and the Air Force, we were hard-pressed to find a copy of the Invincible Eagle. It's actually a John Philip Sousa march from 1909. But we were going to substitute, and we still might, the theme from Star Wars to take over for the Space Force. Really classy group, and I think it's going to have a wonderful future for our nation. One of the things I like best about our military is that I got to serve in the Air Force as a military chaplain. And chaplains in the military go back almost as long as the military forces themselves. I mentioned that the first branch of our service was the Army, and it was founded on the 14th of June, 1775. Well, the Chaplains Corps traces itself back to the 29th of July, 1775, about 6 weeks after the Army was created by the Second Continental Congress. The Chaplain Corps began. It began somewhat unofficially. You were not always considered to be a member in the ranks of the Army. There were civilians who volunteered to serve the men of the Army at the time. But gradually it became incorporated into the ranks, and we go back to 6 weeks after the Army was founded. The chaplains of the Army began to serve, and we followed through with all of the other military forces. If you look online now, there's a number of companies that are starting up, and one of the ideas behind them is that they want to serve the veterans communities by employing veterans, by donating profits to help veterans charities, particularly in the area of housing or mental health. One of them that I've been noticing, I don't know a lot about it yet, but I want to research a little bit more, is there's something showing up online called the Armed Forces Brewing Company. I know they're looking for investors, and I want to look into that. Their idea is to make a mainstream beer that would honor the various branches of the services. And I know they're already looking at something for the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, and they'll eventually get to the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, and the Space Force as well. But it might be a thing to keep your eye on and see how it develops, especially since it's devoted to helping veterans with employment, with mental health, and with housing. Time for Pascal to come down and join us today as we celebrate our Veterans Day. And it's kind of interesting that we might want to combine some of the mottos of our services. And how about this for a combined motto? Semper Fidelis, Paratus, and Supra. Always faithful, always prepared, always above. Maybe we might think of that as we'll be faithful, we'll be prepared, and we'll always keep our eyes up. We'll be looking forward to what God is sending our way. We'll be looking forward to facing that, enjoying that, and living with that, and helping our country through that. God bless and have a wonderful, wonderful Veterans Day.